on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, and I think a couple of other new channels. And the idea is for change the world is to talk about things that are really deep and short because we have only 30 minutes. But thank you for joining everybody, and especially thank you, John, for joining us. John Engelhardt, who is with us and accepted my invitation. And I think it's going to be an exciting moment. But before we get started, I wanted to say a little housekeeping here for people to know that we have a chat here that is pretty nice, and you can definitely use it for your questions, for comments, anything you want to say. And we won't be able to reply on the chat, but we'll reply here. So please do not hesitate to use it. Secondly, on especially YouTube Live, I would like to invite everybody to subscribe on the channel, on YouTube channel, and to visit that also through maybe the website, www.andrepolitzer.com or coachingpath.com. And I think that's it. I just wanted to start that way. So, John, good evening, good afternoon. It's for me already the evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Andre. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great, great, especially because I see you. So, I could introduce you, but I think the best person for that would be you. If you could just say a few words, about you, especially you, and of course, the work that you do seems to be fascinating. So, if you could share a few words about it too.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. My name is John Engelhardt. I am a father, a husband, a active member of my community. I live in Connecticut. I work in the business of communications. And my job currently, really for the past 8 or so years, has been leading communications and marketing for an academic medical center called Hospital for Special Surgery that's headquartered in New York. And it specializes in orthopedics and rheumatology, or what some people would call musculoskeletal health. It's the largest in the world of its kind. It's the best in the world of its kind. It is ranked number one in the world and number one in the US. So that's what I do for my profession. I'm here by accident. I grew up in a small Western New England town to a conservative family. Very, very fortunate, very fortunate childhood. But it was through lots of different twists and turns of people who changed my life that led me to where I am today. I suffer from extreme imposter syndrome. But in between that small town in Western Massachusetts and today, I've had wonderful adventures, 15 years living and working abroad, just opportunities to do amazing things with amazing people. So all of that has brought me here today. So I'm grateful for it all.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that gives us a little bit of an idea. A lifetime is really a long time. So about 2 minutes to explain it is a wonderful performance. You should know. So bravo, bravo. I just want to tell you, communication for me is more than fascinating because this is about people. It's about messaging. It's about something that maybe, in your case, this hospital and this whole institution and this whole academic institution needs to convey on a regular basis. I'm sure you're part of a system, a structure. There's people you relate to. There's different stakeholders. That's all good. But communication is about people. And that's why I thought that, the first one I see here today coming and representing that incredible profession. So I know your title as several kind of titles, several senior vice president, chief communication and marketing officer, I think also chief marketing officer. So this means that you're part of the C-suite, that you're part of the people who are making decisions and who are influential in your world, right? In your world.
Yes.
So if we would like to connect a little bit the dots here, tell us a little bit about this communication profession. In other words, what is it that you feel you're communicating every day?
Well, it is, I think a big part of the role of communications is being an interpreter and translator. And in the case of what I do now, this is the first role that I've had in healthcare. And it
Right.
truly is the blessing of my career. But a lot of what I do now, and what together with some excellent colleagues that I work with, is interpret what we do as an organization into what we mean to those that we serve, and understanding both sides of that equation, and building bridges of understanding and relatability, is really at the core of what I do and what we do.
Okay. So that's in fact not the solution, but as it's healthcare, it's an environment that people could feel safe, where they would go learn, for those who learn and those who are getting treatments or the care that you provide. And you know, I've been very passionate about also patient experience and patients in general. It's a new world. 2022 in this area is incredibly challenging. I hope patients understand where they are when they are somewhere, and get the sense of, of what it is when people care. Because really, the word care is for me a very important into this whole equation. What do you think?
Yes, no, I agree. And the healthcare profession is abundant in people that care very deeply,
Right.
and consumers, regular people like you and I, have lots of options. It's really hard navigating healthcare. It's hard making good decisions. It's hard being confident
Right.
about what we do. And so, a big part of the role of representing a brand in that translation is being empathetic with what it's like to be a consumer, and the rational and emotional influences and challenges and clutter and noise and all of that go on, and helping
Right.
people to navigate that.
Right. Right. So let's bring this to another level about communication, and you being the professional of communication. If you would see back, and I'm sure now currently you are where you are, but look at any time of your life and your profession when you were involved in communication. To answer my little question here, which is a powerful question, right, is to say, where or when do you think your communication had the most impact? An example, a story, maybe.
Hmm. That's a great question. I think uh, in different chapters, it's had different levels of meaning. And I think part of what energizes me and what I do now is I feel that I am at the culmination of my impact. And as you were saying before, what my responsibilities span communications and marketing, which are related but different disciplines. And so, really holistically, supporting the reputation of an institution that matters a lot in the world. Um, and there's it's a complex profession, complex business, and so there's lots of challenges across the whole of that spectrum.
Right.
Um, I think the in um, well, I'll share a story that I rarely share, but it's kind of touches on a number of things. But indulge me for a few minutes. So one of the most challenging, difficult, horrible, and wonderful experiences of my life was working for a brilliant, crazy, bad, actually okay in some ways, good guy named Peter Arnell.
Right.
And Peter taught me ways of thinking differently and creatively. And I happened to be working with him at his company in Lower Manhattan when 9/11 happened.
Right.
And he had taught me ways of thinking differently about communications, and thinking about and observing kind of organic assets to communication and to telling stories in ways that are different and deeper.
Right.
And in we were directly affected by 9/11, and no, we weren't, in the immediate proximity, but we were in lower Manhattan. And one of our clients was Con Edison, the public utility company in New York. And the day after, so it was September 12th, I was in my kitchen in Connecticut speaking with Peter and really thinking through a way that he had taught me to think about those organic assets. And I said, we were speaking with Con Edison about what they should do in this moment of crisis for a utility. How can we signal to the community that we're on it and we're part of the community and we're working hard to bring New York back? And again, this derived directly from a way of thinking that Peter had taught me. And I said, electricity makes a lot of things.
Right.
Among the things that it makes is light. And
Yes.
light makes lots of things. And among the things that light makes is, or can make, is hope. And so what if we go to Con Edison and we suggest to them that at the site of the World Trade Centers, we erect twin towers of light.
I see.
And because they wanted to do advertising and all these different things. But I think, that as a symbolic communication that can matter so much more than, running ads or whatever, that would be a conventional kind of thing. And it worked out, and it was part of a broader effort. But I think it was a really meaningful, different act of communication that meant a lot at a particular moment in time.
Well, for those who are not New Yorkers or who even live abroad, I don't know, each time you have, in fact, the anniversary, I think it's at the anniversary time on September 11th.
Yes, it's and I'm not sure they do it every year now on the anniversary, but yes, it's regularly.
I think they do. Oh, regularly. I thought it was the day.
No, but for the anniversaries, I think they may have missed a couple of years. But yes.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Because I saw it. I think last year. I saw the two beams. You're talking about the two red beams going up.
Yeah. What's known as the tribute in light. Yes.
The tribute in light. And so your idea was incredibly meaningful. I mean, can you imagine when I see those two lights? And I'm not joking. I mean, it's not two lights, two beams. I don't know how you call this, but it's incredible. It looks like, in fact, twin towers, but that go infinitely to the sky.
Yeah,
it touched the sky, as we say. It touched the clouds.
Yes.
I don't know. Depends how the sky is, but it is incredible. So for those who don't know, imagine Manhattan and the bottom of the island with two vertical, parallel, right? Red beams, or I don't know if they changed the color.
Blue,
or blue. I thought it was red. This was because of my microphone. But it was two beams going up. It is two beams going up. Oh wow! So in Con Edison, I don't know, is it a special technology they developed for that, or?
No, it was, and there were lots of different parties involved then in organizing it, but they powered it, and there were some architects that got involved in structuring it. But yes, that was, and at the time that I shared that with Peter, he disparaged it in his characteristic way, which is very rudely. And it was then the following day, September 13th, when we were in the war room at Con Edison. And at the end of a meeting, Peter then just said, hey, there's one more idea that John has that I think you should hear. And that's how it happened. So Peter, in that sense, in a couple different ways, Peter is among the people that changed the trajectory of my life.
Yes. Oh, but that's why, or just because of the experience you had with him?
No, I mean, that was a fruit of my experience with him that means a lot to me.
Right. Well, it means a lot to millions of people, it looks like. So if we talk about changing the world or changing the life of someone, you change probably the life in a very meaningful way of many, many people by just having this idea. Because when I see it, I have an emotion. It's really about seeing, it's not even a piece of art. It's not even a monument or even the memorial that we see at the location of the Twin Towers. But it is something really, it's light, so it's not tangible. If you touch it, you don't feel it, and it is, I would say, almost spiritual, if I may say that.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was, yes, yep. It was, in a way, some people might say, a blessing of an idea. So,
yeah, and that took you to a career now in communication in healthcare. I can't believe it.
I'm not sure that led me to healthcare, and it certainly didn't happen at the beginning of my career. But it was a small chapter.
Right. So how did you get to this job today, to HSS?
So I was following that time at Arnell. I went through a chapter in my career that I had long aspired to and really failed terribly at, which was a chapter as an entrepreneur, which I was for probably 12 years. And tried lots of different things, got things out of my system, absolutely nothing that was any kind of sustainable or enduring success. And over the course of that, I had, among the people that I had the privilege of working with, was a spectacularly talented advertising creative director who one day called and asked for a favor. And the favor was to help him win this account for this hospital that I had never heard of. And I helped him put together some pieces which he needed to be viable as an option for them. And then he said, look, would you come with me to just the first meeting, just to kind of, and so I did. I had never heard of HSS. And that meeting changed my life. And so that it was completely by accident, and one thing led to another. And here I am.
So the meaning, you said it, you used the word meaning when you said you're translating, a message to meaning or something like that. And then I correlate that to healthcare, then to patients, then to things that are extremely, extremely, deeply meaningful, because it's about health. It's about making people feel better. It's about people walking again thanks to a new knee, or I think it's those kind of things. So is it what you have in mind when you work every day? What is in fact keeping you up every day and motivated?
Well, I think, it's I mean, medical professionals are inherently scientific. They think in a certain way, thank heavens. And the role of translating is understanding the meaning of what we do in the lives of the people that we affect. And yes, care. Lots of people say it's about care, but I think, care and a lot of things that are common platforms or messages of communication are, it's easy for them to stay or come across as superficial. So really understanding, what it is that we can represent that is unique and different in the world, which is, really about new and better possibilities for better quality of life through better quality of movement, and expressing that, and more than communicating it. I mean, really, communication, the most meaningful communication is through demonstration, not claiming something. So how can you demonstrate that meaningfully, and what's the language of demonstration? And that you can do very consistently and with a lot of depth and a lot of personal relevance to lots of different people and lots of different stages of life and places and so on.
Right. It's a wide footprint, right? I mean, we're talking about not you're in New York. This is the headquarters, maybe the foundation of the whole institution is in New York, but it's all over the world. If I remember,
it's all over the world. I mean, today we're the preferred resource for professional education for medical specialists in more than 130 countries. We do a lot around the world, and also digitally, which is kind of fundamentally transferring knowledge. Right. There's HSS has been specialized, really doing one thing for 159 years. And it is HSS somebody once described it to me as saying HSS is to other hospitals that do orthopedics as NASA is to airlines. And
Okay.
that really is true. But so how do you make that relevant and credible and meaningful to people? People don't want to hear that we, care more. So really giving it depth and richness and relating to people in what matters and has meaning to them in their lives. So
Right. Yeah, and I relate that also to culture. I mean, I think that behind the brand there is also somewhat always something about culture. I'm fascinated by that very, very much. Sometimes I see brands I'm not really trusting too much, or because I had a bad experience, or because the brand is not sincere. How can you say something? But it's true. I don't want to mention any of those, but I'm saying sometimes the brand is not sincere. And in this case, I come across HSS on LinkedIn through different executives that represent the brand, except yourself. And I see your postings and I see what you're saying. And you talk a lot about culture all the time. And I think it's good to mention that, because as we're here to talk about meaningful things and things that impact human beings, and really remaining human in a world where robotics, in your case, serves perfections, excellence, precision, and healing, or fixing something. But robotic could means in other worlds another a replacement of the human being to communicate, like a chat bot. I don't tell you that how much I hate those stuff. Uh, so the bot, the world, is a scary world for me. Even metaverse, transporting reality into a world that is not real, right? And where I have to imagine myself in the bathroom or or in a castle, just because I put two things here and it's called augmented reality. So I am really telling you, it's not that I'm conservative, it's just sometimes difficult to relate.
yes.
In your case, you're a very tangible business. You are taking care of people. So what is the culture behind all of this? Now that I said this long thing.
No. Well, that's great and well observed. And I think probably among the things that you have observed is our CEO, President and CEO Lou Shapiro,
Yes.
who has long advocated culture as a strategy,
Oh,
and which is true at HSS in ways that I have not seen at other organizations, and true in a deep and meaningful way. Lou also has a philosophy that we practice, which is leadership by all.
yes.
And what that means is everybody in the organization is a leader, regardless of what you do. Whatever you do, your role is to be the best in the world at what you do and to advance us. That's your position on the team, and our team is better if you do that. And so culture has depth and meaning and actionability and accountability and pride and calls for integrity in ways that just make it really, really potent. So when people do come, when people do experience HSS, it typically exceeds. I mean, the organization is not perfect, but the overwhelming experience exceeds expectation, and it is exactly because of that, because the culture is real, it's strong, and it's pervasive.
I'll tell you a story. I was in a place one day, and it's this capacity of coaching and its capacity of facilitating sometimes a brainstorming, an ideation session, or people who are looking, in fact, for the definition of their culture. It was interesting because the institution I was working with was about 200 years old. So I said, wow, they got very distant from the founders of this organization, because I'm sure that the founders
Yes.
are those who at least put the first seed about what you call culture, right?
Yes.
Founders of a
Yeah.
company, they come with if there is nothing like that, and we talked about culture, we can go for a long time talking about
Yeah.
that. But you're
Yeah.
talking about this in a way that I really like. You talk about sharing leadership by having people being responsible
Mhm.
to the extent that you really give them the credit that what they decide or what they do every day counts. It's something that's going to be have an impact,
Yes.
on the business, an impact on the people, and that's an interesting definition of a culture, because in that particular seminar, or I don't know, it was a retreat a long time ago, like 5-6 years ago, and for half a day, I saw all those vice presidents, senior vice president, with clipboards, trying to brainstorm to say, what is our culture? And I was there saying, looking, and I said, well, it's not culture. We're talking about maybe your brochure here. Here it's a feature about your service, but it's not culture. They had a very hard time, believe me, very hard time to connect to that concept of culture. And the only thing I said in my own little mind, I was not judgmental, God forbid. I was just wondering where the founders were. Where is that bridge between the moment when someone conceived a brand or a concept, and today, 200 years later, when people work for this institution and they are asked about what the culture is, and having so much hard time finding the answer.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just sharing this little experience, but let's we have only 5 minutes left, and changing the life of people or having an impact. I remind everybody that what gave me this little spark of interest of doing this little time on LinkedIn here and other channels is the motivation I have, that every day I see that many people don't realize how much impactful they are, and how much they can inspire other people. And furthermore, at one point in their life, when they tell me their stories, they really hit something in someone's soul or someone's mind, to the extent that they really change the person. That person turns back and say, John, you said that to me, a year or two ago, and I didn't know it, but now I know this is you. You changed my life. Would you think about something like this humbly? Because I could realize how humble you are. So let's try to be a little vulnerable. Try to think about something, if you don't mind. Something in story where you felt, well, or someone really came to you and said something like that.
Yes, and of course it is humbling, and it's flattering, and but I think it's as you say, everybody does. We all, and sometimes consciously, and sometimes unconsciously, um, um, uh, change favorably the lives of others, and so often it's through example, and so often it's through something that we may not recognize is just a timely intervention of positive energy, believing in someone, or giving somebody a shot, or saying something that maybe they've heard 50 times before, but that time they hear it a little bit differently. So for sure, there's a bit of luck involved in that, and timing. But I think you can put yourself in position. So if I think people who are intentional about trying to be true to themselves. If you're true to yourself, you are probably going to favorably inspire and affect other lives.
Right.
And um, we all, some of us take longer than others finding who we really are, but if we're fortunate enough to get to that point, and to then be true to ourselves, hopefully it can inspire other people, and through example and support, we can change other lives.
Well, you said that, by the way, when you talked about Peter, who you worked with and had this idea of the Twin Towers light with Con Edison. I think you said something like, he changed my life, or the relationship with him, or the experience with him has such an impact on me that's also we live together through this incredible event of September 11th. I mean, everybody, if they were around, remember where they were and with who they were.
Yeah.
And at that very emotional time, and we hope that it doesn't have to happen for us to realize how close we can be between human beings. and create really a very magic moment at this time.
Yeah. No, I think that's right, and I think there's probably 10 people that have changed the course of my professional career, and I think it's really important to be appreciative of that and to be thoughtful about that and to take from that a sense of responsibility to, as they say, pay it forward and do that for others. I also think it's important to be deliberate about expressing gratitude, and circling back with people that have had that effect on them, and being deliberate and just saying, look, this is something that you may or may not realize that you did for me, but it had this meaning to me. And that's good. That's good for them. It's also good. It's good for the receiver of that gratitude. It's also good for the giver of that gratitude. And I think that that kind of completes the circle of change and transformation, and feeds the karma going forward.
Right. Well, John, this was really a great pleasure. I think we reached already the hour, and I really am so grateful to you that you accepted our invitation. And I really hope we're going to see you again, because we have more to talk about, I'm sure.
It was very kind. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you again, Andre.
And if people want to reach out to you or anything, they find you on LinkedIn, like they find us and they find me. So I open the door to that, because you're a fascinating person, and I will continue to have this kind of exchange together. Thank you.
And Andre, let me just say thank you for doing what you're doing, because I think these conversations have a butterfly effect, and I think we all take from them something that helps us and that keeps the cycle going. So thank you for your service.
Well, don't thank me. I thank everybody to be here and to share it with us, because it's if we don't talk about those things, life has no meaning. We have to connect to this. It's not going to work. It's not taking care of clients or patients. It's really about human beings and how we're dealing with each other and how we're impacting each other. This is really why I think if we take conscience of that, and I think everybody does, through these kind of testimonials or your story and everything, then there is something to take away. So I hope that's the case of everybody. And again, thank you for everybody, and thank you to you, John, for making it happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.